Hey there. Okay, so I'm going to run through an exam question. This is from the 2020 mock paper by Examcraft. So this is the axonometric question. Just going to go through the setup for this question because there's a little tricky bit at the start of this one just before you even get into the question itself. So first of all, if you are looking at the question while you're actually doing this, it'll make life a little bit easier. So from the question, it tells me that I've got the three axes, X, Y, and Z. The y-axis is vertical. The angle between the y and x-axis is 110. Between the y and z-axis is 135. And leaving 115 between the z and x and z-axis. Okay, so I just picked a starting point. Vertical line. Use a protractor to set up 110. Drew my x-axis. Okay, use a protractor to set up the 135. Drew my z-axis. That leaves me with 115 here at the bottom. So straight away, a couple of things I know are going to be true on this question. As I project out at this angle going this direction, I know that the side of my triangle here at the center, which is a scalene triangle, that edge of the triangle has to be perpendicular to that projection line. Okay, I know this edge of the triangle has to be perpendicular to this projection line, so that's vertical, this becomes horizontal. And if I was projecting out in that direction, this edge of the triangle has to be perpendicular to that projection line. Okay. Normally on these questions, if you look back at the past exam questions in axonometric higher level, you will be given the length of generally that side of the triangle there. Okay, so you'll be given that length, or maybe some other lengths, but generally that length there. If you're given that length, you can set it up during the break at maybe each side of this division, this projection line here. You'd set that line up, you would go perpendicular to this line in that direction, and then join the two of them back this way. Okay, on this particular question, you were not given that measurement. Okay, the information you're given in relation to the triangle at the center ABC is that when you look at the question, you can see that they show you that when you draw in the rectangle up here in the elevation, 70 by 110, the top corner of the rectangle lines up with the top of this triangle. Okay, but to get that point, you have to draw it a little bit bigger or smaller and work backwards, or that's what I did with this anyway. Okay, so I'll show you how I did that. So set up my axis. As it happens, because of the angle, this z-axis is sitting at 45 degrees. Okay, so I projected out my center point out at 45 degrees out that direction. Doesn't make any difference how far out here it goes. Okay. I then went and chose a location for this side, just this one side of the triangle. And again, it could be positioned any place. I could have put it back there. Okay, I could have gone out further out here with it. It doesn't really make any difference. The important thing is that the edge of the triangle is perpendicular to that projection line. Okay, so in my drawing here, if you can make out the color, I've drawn in this blue line. Okay. I took the edge of the blue line, top and bottom, and I projected it out here at the same angle that the center point is projected out at, so 45 degrees. So that has been projected out, and the bottom edge of that line has been projected out here. Okay. To set up my front elevation, I can go out here any distance. Generally, you are not told how far to go out, so I just picked a point, and I just drew that line in again, which, as I said in the previous video, is parallel to this edge back here. Okay, so that's parallel out there. Okay, after I drew that in, I bisected that line because I want to draw a semicircle to set up my 90-degree angle. So, using the compass, bisected the line. My bisector is that blue line running up along there. Okay, so I have these labelled. Step 1 was drawing that. Step 2 essentially was projecting it out, drawing in that line. Step 3 is the bisector. With that bisector, I was able to draw in a semicircle, okay, which sits there, okay. I want to set up my 90-degree angle. I know that the center of the room, as I'm calling it, this center point here has to coincide with the center or the corner of the room here. Remember, we're taking this surface and basically setting it up as a true shape up here, a true angle that we know is 90 degrees. So I've taken this point, projected out as far as here, and that's the point I use to set up my 90-degree angle going from the end of the diameter of the circle to that point end of the diameter of the circle to that point. Okay, it doesn't make any difference how far I extend that this way or this way, it's still going to give me 90 degrees. Okay, once I had my 90 degrees set up, and again I said, make sure you notice that that corner must coincide with the center point of the actual axonometric axis. Okay, once I had that set up, I drew on my 70mm height line and I drew on the 110mm width line. Okay, so my rectangle is now set up. Once I marked on the 70, that gave me this point, which I know needs to coincide with the top of the triangle. Okay, hopefully that sun which had just appeared since I started drawing isn't going to affect you being able to see this. But basically that 70mm point right there, I've taken that and I've projected that back as far as here, and then using that point I've drawn in the edge of the triangle. Okay, so that's that red line. That gives me the edge AC. Once I have AC, I can then go and draw from C straight across to get B, horizontal to get B, and B joins up as far as A. Okay. It doesn't make any difference what size triangle you draw here and project out and draw the semicircle. This corner will always end up in the same location. Your 90-degree corner will end up in the exact same place. Okay, I have just shown that on this here where I took my red line now, which is the proper location for it from the top of that 70mm line. I bisected it. There's the red bisector line. There's its center point. There's the semicircle associated with it, slightly smaller, but it still runs through the exact same point. Okay, once you have your 90 set up, you can then go and start drawing the rest of the question. Okay, so that's how you set up the first part of that question. Have a look at it, see how you get on, and hopefully that will solve that particular problem. Okay, thanks for watching.